So,
Yep.
would you like to tell your side
Of the birth
of
story?
Moira's birth? Because we have very, very different memories and experiences of this.
That's true. The part of the problem is I've blocked many of them out. It was very traumatic for me.
All right, would you like me to go through the basic
Go
blow
for
by blow
it.
of what happened? And
Yeah,
you
and then I'll
interrupt
tell
me
you
a
what
bunch?
really happened. Yeah.
Okay, so the whole build up to when she was born. So again, very type A, very research oriented. I knew there was a very good chance that she would statistically probably be late, that it would probably be a long labor, that, you know, first births tend to be the longest, hardest in that way, births if you're going to have multiple children. So our doula Angie messaged me a week or so before Moira was born, telling me essentially that of the people in our birth group, you know, here's this kid, and this was this long labor, and here's this kid, and the labor was this long. They were, you know, long labors, and she basically told me, you owe me an easy one. Those weren't her exact words. I feel that was the implication.
I don't know that those weren't exactly her words.
Actually, those might have been her exact words.
They might have been. It's
some
Angie. I
some
mean,
variation on that were essentially like the rest of them were. I mean, Cully was a C-section, so there was always like that kind of
that was a very planned one too. Yeah.
well, contained timeline.
Yes.
Contained timeline.
Yeah.
The benefits of C-sections is a comparatively contained timeline.
Exactly.
At least if it's a planned C-section. But yeah, so I went into labor.
Oh, wait, hold on. You have to tell the part that happened before that too.
Which part?
That we were coming up to Moira's due date, and
Oh yeah, and the doctor had her due date wrong.
yeah.
Whoa.
Well, so
Lauren knew exactly the day that she conceived because she knew
Right.
exactly when her ovulation happened. Whereas,
Whereas
if you go by menstruation,
natural conception, 40 weeks is based on the idea that like here's your period. So when was your period? Cool. We're gonna count from your last period plus 2 weeks
Right.
because we know.
is roughly somewhere in the 2 weeks.
Yeah,
region
your
after
period
you
is
get-
probably,
yeah.
is probably
They do
28
that, right.
days, so we're going to take 14 days from your period and say that's when you conceived, because that should have been when you ovulated.
Oh, right.
But I knew exactly when. So I knew
Right.
when, so it's not actually 40 weeks, because it's 40 weeks from your period. So it's, because, you know, gestation is 38 weeks.
Right.
Just that since we start from your period, we have to add 2 weeks onto it.
Yeah.
So they count 40 weeks from your period, but I know exactly when to start the 38 weeks, because I knew the day that I conceived.
Right.
That wasn't a question. So the doctor used my period and was off by several days.
Right.
It wasn't a lot. It wasn't a
Right,
lot, but she was
right.
off.
But
Either
you
way.
know it by accuracy.
But I knew ex-
Right.
Right.
You know
But
exactly.
the part that was particularly funny about this was that we knew, okay, it's coming up, her due date's here. I have to plan out when my 2 weeks off are going
God,
to
I
be.
forgot about that. Right.
And so I knew that I was going to be going, starting the following week. This was like the Tuesday or something like that before she was born.
She was due on a Saturday.
She was due on the Saturday. And so Lauren said, okay.
My due.
She looked down at her belly on Tuesday or Wednesday and looked at her and said, you're going to be born, I'm going to go into labor on Thursday. Thinking Thursday night. So then over Friday.
Because most women go into labor at night.
Yeah,
Right.
usually that's
very
usually the
common.
case,
or
right?
early in the morning.
Right? So
Okay.
I'm gonna go into labor on Thursday so that we can make sure that we have this on time. She goes into labor on Thursday.
So, because my whole goal was that Skye would be able to essentially call in sick on Friday and say, my wife's in labor, I cannot come to work that day. Baby's going to be born on Friday, I can't come in. And then we would get, you know, essentially Friday called in sick, and then Saturday would be the beginning of paternity leave.
2 weeks,
And we'd be
yeah.
able to
Okay.
maximize the type A personality, right?
okay.
Be able to maximize paternity
Just
leave.
like planned to the T.
So,
Okay.
so I spent like 2 weeks telling my belly when she was going to go, like when she was going to be born. And for a long time I was like, it's going to be on Friday. And after a couple of days of this, my friend looked at me and said, does she know what day it is today? I was like, no, that's a good point. It is Tuesday. You're going to be born in 3 days. I'm going into labor on Thursday. Today is Tuesday. So I spent a long time telling her when I was going to go into labor so that she was ready.
And well, it worked, because that's exactly when she went into labor.
Except I didn't go into labor Thursday night. I went into labor at 2 a.m. Thursday morning.
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So you actually called in 2 days.
Right, that's fair.
But
It was
I
still
went into
Thursday.
labor the day
Yeah.
I told her we were going to go into labor.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
She was on the ball.
So she was born 2 days before her due date. So she was actually born early. 2 days before the due date I gave her, 4 or 5 days before the due date the doctor gave her.
Okay.
So you were closer.
That's because I knew when I got pregnant.
Really exact here.
But she should have been late.
Right, statistically
speaking,
she should have been late. But those statistics require that some of us go into labor early.
That's true. Anyway.
So I went into labor at 2:30 in the morning.
Okay.
And we'd been up until midnight almost playing video games.
Yeah.
I had just gotten to sleep not very long before that. I'd only slept about 2 hours.
Okay.
And I wake up at 2:30 with this feeling like I have to go to the bathroom. And not realizing that what I was having was very early contractions.
Okay.
Because like the first several contractions that I had were very much like, I think I have to go to the bathroom. I remember crawling back into bed and texting my friend and saying, I think that was a contraction. I think I'm going into labor. I'm going to try to get some more sleep. And this is like my best friend in the States.
We're told by Angie as well.
Right.
It's like, try to get as much sleep as possible
in the early parts
Right.
of labor, because this is a long haul. This is going to be rough. So get as much sleep as you can early on.
Okay.
I never fell back asleep.
Okay.
Because over the next chunk of time, I had a contraction about every 20 or so minutes. Somewhere in the 20 to 30 minutes. My mother was here. So I let Skye sleep.
Thank goodness.
And
You had somebody who was well slept.
And I went out to the couch and kind of hung out, and then realized that I was feeling weird. Come here.
Oh, you don't need your medicine right now, sweetheart. You're going to take that later. We already took it at 1 o'clock, so we have to wait until 5.
She's a sore part at the back of her mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the
not sick.
citrusine?
She's just
The Superman, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Superman.
Yeah, she's just got a sore that's helping.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
I
early
had,
contractions.
so I had like 3 or 4 early contractions, and I remember going and like crawling into my mom's room and like curling up on the bed where she was sleeping. She'd gone to bed really early. And kind of curling up on the bed there and being like, and I have my phone and I was like timing contractions. Once I'd figured out that I was definitely in labor and that I'd let Skye sleep on purpose so that at least one of us would be rested-ish. And that took about an hour or so of early contractions, and then things kind of started to escalate but weren't consistent. And I remember Mom woke you up.
They escalated.
Wait. No, you're
The two sides.
In a labor this short, you have to consider quickly by a range of 30 minutes or an hour. I'm saying eventually, and that's fair. In the next 30 minutes, things started to escalate a little bit. We woke you up. We called the doula, and she's like, just put the phone next to her, and I'll be able to tell you whether she's in active labor yet by how she sounds.
Okay.
And I was still kind of just like groaning and being uncomfortable. And she's like, nah, she's not there yet. Just chill out and wait.
So, can I add one piece?
Yeah.
So, one of the things that Andy told us to wait for and to watch for was regular contractions somewhere in the 5 to 7 minute range.
Right.
Consistent.
5 to 7 minutes. You know, like, that's when you need to start thinking about going to the hospital.
Once your body seems to be getting
Right.
into kind of waves.
The problem was she never hit that.
That never happened.
She would go from 2 minutes to 7 minutes to 5 minutes to 6 minutes to 3 minutes. It was never consistent. We didn't realize that meant go now. Because I was like, well, it's not consistent. Are we waiting for a particular consistency? So, and then eventually Lauren
I
started.
took a shower at one point.
You did? Early before you woke me up.
No, you were awake because you were standing out there, because I remember being in the shower. I'd been in labor for about 2 hours at that point from the very beginning, and you were standing outside the bathroom, and I was like on my hands and knees in the shower, watching my wrists bend because of all of the relaxin'. And like, so like I'm on my hands and knees and my wrists are bending out farther than they should. I'm like, I'm gonna fall and hurt myself if I keep this up. I should probably get out of the shower. And the warm water was like encouraging things to happen. And I remember looking at Skye at that point.
Is that
assuming,
a technique that Angie told you?
No, she actually just did baths, but I don't have a bath.
Right. Okay, so
time, yeah.
I was
Just
so
warm water.
excited because it felt good. I was
Yeah.
so excited because the birthing center that I gave birth at has birthing tubs, and I had been looking forward to that bath for a month. Like, I didn't even care if I gave birth in water. I just wanted to be in a bathtub.
Yeah.
I was so excited. But I remember being on my hands and knees and my wrists going and just being like, I should get out of here before I do some damage to my arm. And sitting on the floor with a towel around me and looking at Skye and be like, I don't know how I'm going to do this because I expected that I had like 10 more hours of labor. And I'm like, I can't, I don't know how I'm going to do this for 10 hours. Mm-hmm. And like, I do long distance running. I'm used to like getting in there and like being able to, like, I'm used to the mental game of like, just put your head down and keep going. But like the idea of doing this, again, 5, 7, 9, 6, 3, like this kind of varying time of these ridiculous contractions. Like I remember being on the edge of my couch and like on my hands and knees with my stomach contracting, just essentially like groaning. And at some point about 5:45 or 6 a.m., somewhere in there. So I started at about 2:30 or so.
Right.
My mom said, call Angie back. Call the doula. Something's not right. Mm-hmm. And Angie did the same, like stick the mic next to her and let me hear. And she's like, yep, nope, that sounds like active labor. Get in the car. I'll meet you at the clinic. We called an Uber and like texted the woman who was driving the Uber. She's in, my wife's going to have a baby. And we're super lucky because it was a Thursday morning and it was early enough that we didn't hit rush hour.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because
It was 6:30 when we left.
Maybe 20-minute drive from our house to the clinic. Mm-hmm. Which for the States is like, what a big deal. And for Taiwan is like, you were 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a clinic around every corner.
Which clinic did you guys go to?
Xinjiang.
Okay.
Yeah, the one in Xinjiang. My mom's clearest memory is of sitting in the front of the Uber, looking back at me as I'm like trying to loosen my seatbelt because sitting is the worst position when you are in active labor because you have a head trying to move through your body.
Right.
And
it's huge.
And your body is literally
heavy,
folded in
it's
half
hard.
when there's a head right there.
Yeah.
It's like the worst possible position. And so I'm like trying to like straighten my body out during all of this.
Trying to help you with your seatbelt.
And Skye's holding my seatbelt, trying to keep me both safe and comfortable.
Yeah.
And my mom's sitting in the front of the Uber as I'm saying something. She is convinced, and I will take her word for it because I don't remember. She's convinced that at some point I said that I feel like I want to push. And my mom looked back at me and said, "You are not having this baby in this car. Do not push."
You're like, I'm trying not to, but I really feel the need to. And we're like, we're almost there.
We got to the clinic, and I very nearly bowled over 2 nurses who were trying to get me into a wheelchair so they could wheel me in.
Poor things.
And I had a contraction just as I sat down and pitched myself forward out of the wheelchair onto my hands and knees.
So you had a wheelchair, right? How do I do this? Like, so she should be sitting here, right?
But sitting is the worst
chair
position in the world.
portion,
So
yeah.
sitting is the worst position, and she has a contraction that launches her forward. So the whole chair does this.
Oh, the chair
Pitches
just
the whole
fold
wheelchair forward.
over. Oh my
And the
god.
women who were there, the nurses were like, trying to like, grab her, pick her up.
At this point, I'm 9 months pregnant. I'm like 190 pounds.
Huge.
I'm a lot of human with these like little Taiwanese nurses. They were not terribly big women.
No, and they weren't expecting that.
And they were not expecting like this entire thing to just go. They got me into the delivery room.
No, we're talking it's 5 to 7 at this point.
Yeah.
Like maybe 10 to 7, but it's like 5 10 to 7
Yeah.
in the morning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Moira was born at 7:07.
We were there for less than 15 minutes before Moira was born.
Oh.
Like we basically had no
Did
time.
Angie make it?
Just. We actually about 20 minutes.
Was it that long?
You were thinking about when you finally got an eye on the clock,
That's true.
which was after I got an eye on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
you got in
after
there
the...
because
This is a giant clock on the wall.
I had to deal with the paperwork and such.
Yep.
So
So they get me into the room and.
Did you walk into the room, or how did
No, they
that
did. They
happen?
did wheel me in.
You
they
still
managed to wheel me in
You
like the
get
5
back
minutes
on the
between
chair.
contractions.
yeah.
Okay.
they got me into the room, and I spent I never got my bath. I'm still bitter about this. I never got my bath.
Oh no, the bath.
The one reason I chose this hospital.
The doctor didn't make it because they had less than 20 minutes because they're like, why didn't you call us? They're like, we had no time. Like literally from when we decided we're coming in, like there was no time to call the clinic and tell them anything because they were looking at Angie saying like, what's going on? Why did you bring her so late? Why is she so far late? And
She hasn't had time to not.
She's been in labor for 4 hours total. Like this is it.
Well, she's got what she asked for.
So
right? That's the thing.
So the nurses caught her. I remember very clearly one of the nurses standing at the bedside beside me because I did the whole thing like up on my hands and knees because that was the only position I wanted to be in.
This was her grabbing the rail. At
Yeah,
the
yeah.
back of the bed.
Hands and knees, as
the
in
headboard.
your knees and the headboard.
Yeah, I was holding onto the
Okay.
headboard.
Okay.
Because that was the only position my body wanted to be in.
Okay.
From the very beginning. Like, when I was in labor at my house, I wanted to be bent over the side of my couch.
Right,
Like, the
right.
entire time, that's the only position my body wanted to be in.
Yeah.
So they had to play catch.
So it definitely played catch.
They did a wonderful job. Though.
They did.
The nurses were fantastic.
Hi!
Look.
Hello, you.
Dun,
Speaking
dun,
of
dun,
people who like to-
dun.
Where's your
Oh,
elephant?
don't
The
touch the
result is...
Moimoi, where's your elephant?
What is the result? Moira, come here.
I remember this one nurse standing beside me with the things they put on your belly to be able to hear and make sure like the baby's heart rate is good and everything.
Yeah.
The like that they like strap around you.
Yes.
I remember one of them standing beside me, like trying to get strapped on, but also like I'm writhing and like in the last moments of labor, and they're trying to make sure the baby's okay, they can hear everything, like anything, and she ended up just like holding them against my belly, so they could hear.
Instead of strapping
And
it
eventually, somewhere in the middle there, I had like a small respite, and they managed to strap it on. The woman was standing beside her, telling the other one like, "Back off! I'm good at this. I can get this on."
They earned their pay that day.
Oh, they
Let me
did.
tell you. My
Angie
goodness.
came in, and I
incredible.
remember her later telling me like, "I didn't have to come find you. I could hear where you were," because I had no compunctions about just yelling,
Screaming.
just yelling. I made a lot of noise. The
my
doctor, who was lovely, made it in time to catch the placenta.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was that.
It's something. It's like, I gotta catch something.
Yep. I remember them, like, Moira was born, and I remember them trying to explain, like, we're going to have... Oh, my mom got to cut the cord. That was cool.
Yeah.
But I remember them trying to explain to her, like... Or trying to explain to me, in my, like, not their state, that I needed to... That they were going to scooch me down... Or that... No, I needed to reach down and pick Moira up.
Because you were on your hands and knees.
Yeah.
And the doctor... Not the doctor, but the nurses...
They wanted me to be able to, like, pick her up myself.
So they stuck her down between your legs, and you were so confused because you were
They're trying
exhausted.
to explain to me like what to do, like reach down here and do this, and I'm like, you want me to what now? And I'm like nearly sitting on this newborn
baby
because I don't understand what they're trying to tell me because I'm not processing at all what they want me to do.
And they're speaking Chinese to you?
I think this was in English. I think maybe Angie was I don't remember. Maybe I don't know. Of the three of us, me, Skye, and my mom, I have the best Chinese.
Right.
So
It would be
might
difficult
have
for them
been
to...
in Chinese. It might have been in English. I honestly don't remember clearly enough. I remember that I got the words. I just couldn't visualize what they wanted me to do.
Yeah.
And it was much less that they weren't explaining it clearly so much as I was just so like, huh?
Yeah,
You want-
exactly. And you just had a
Where,
baby.
what?
I mean, yeah.
Because I didn't understand that what they wanted. I thought they wanted me to lie down and they would hand her to me. I didn't realize that they wanted me to pick her up
Oh, wow.
They wanted her
myself.
to reach down between her knees
and pull her
pick
up
and
between
put her-
against my body.
Yeah.
Oh. It, like, so early, even before the cord was cut? Or that was... The cord was...
I think it was before
This
the...
was...
I think it might have been before
This
the
was
cord
before
was
the
cut.
cord was cut. She was
Wow.
having bleeding.
Yeah.
And one of the
Wow.
things that stops bleeding is physical contact with the baby.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
It can stop it. Like, particularly if she starts nursing. So once the baby starts nursing, that really, it can, essentially it causes more contractions. Just in a different sort of way. But
It helps
contracts
uterus.
everything.
Well, no, because this was before the placenta came out. So but that's why they wanted the contractions,
Oh, yeah,
was to
of
push the
course.
placenta out.
Right, that's true. Because you were having bleeding and they wanted to get the process.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
None of it was what was expected. But like I tell everyone, because the number of times I've told this story to someone and they've been like, oh, well, that's really good, right? Like just over and done with. I'm like, yeah, but it's like running a race without warming up. I definitely had a longer recovery, I feel, than I might have otherwise.
Yeah.
Because there was tearing, like my body wasn't warm enough and ready for that. And on top of that, I did not end up having the self-control to push
calm down
slowly.
Right.
By the time we got to the point that I was pushing her, it was very much that my body was just like, get this out of your body. And so...
There's a reason why Angie could hear easily which room she was in.
Yeah,
when she walked in the front door.
Pushing basically as hard as I could to get her out.
It was brutal.
It was just what my body was insisting on at that point. Mm-hmm. But I know that had I been able to do this kind of more slowly, that my body would have kind of stretched slowly better and warmed up better and done what it was supposed to do. And it didn't do any of that. So that was fun.
So, Skye, was there anything else you wanted to add in terms of your
trauma?
It seemed like your trauma. Or...
I think that she's actually heard the story from me enough times that she's remembered and started including some of the things that she didn't before. So, like, for example, the screaming and the just guttural screams that were coming out of her. I've never... ever heard any experience, like no sound like that in my entire life.
Gorilla bellows.
Genuinely, like it was intense. No, mostly like the really traumatic pieces for me were not knowing what was happening. It's like not being able to control anything in this situation.
Right.
But
I think more blood than you'd expected.
There was a lot of
and that
blood.
wasn't even just because that wasn't even just from like my extra bleeding, which happened afterward. It was just
it was like
bloody.
you genuinely just tore yourself a little bit.
But most of
which
was just
scary to see.
blood.
Sure, but it was scary to watch.
I'm sure.
Especially afterwards when the
it.
doctor had to sew. Like, you had to get a bunch of stitches. And,
how many stitches did you have to get?
Oh, I don't know.
It was all internal, so we have no idea.
They never counted it for me. Or they never told me how many.
But it was a lot.
A lot. And
I was down there for a while, yeah.
And I'm really sensitive, so they even numbed me up. And the doctor was sewing me up, and I was still like twitching and jumping because everything hurt. And the doctor's like, she shouldn't be able to feel this. She's really sensitive. My mom's sitting down there where they're like, yeah, no, I know. She's always been like this. This was my mom's first time seeing someone give birth. Mm-hmm. She's had 3 kids, but she never had to actually watch it happen.
She was a little traumatized too.
She was. She was convinced I was going to give birth in an Uber.
So, about the Uber though.
Oh yeah.
The best Uber experience I've ever had in my life.
She was great.
She showed up, saw that Lauren was plainly gigantically pregnant and ready to give birth pretty much yesterday.
Oh, I had a contraction right in front of her in the front door.
Yes, you did. She walks up to the front door. We're like loading. She's helping me load this stuff into the car. So we've got like the overnight bags. We've got the car seat. We've got like everything that we need.
A snack bag.
We've got the puppy pads, puppy pee pads for the seat, just in case something happens.
Okay.
And this one was
Angie.
phenomenal. Exactly. Yep. Thank you, Angie. Didn't need them, thank goodness. But we're getting everything there. Lauren, getting downstairs, guided by her mom, has a contraction in the main door, collapses to her knees.
Right in front of our Uber driver.
Right in front of the driver. The driver's not phased at all. I lean down, grab her on one side. She offers to help with that. We're like, no, it's okay, we've got her. She goes, opens the door, helps her to get inside. Everything is all dealt with there. We get her there. She's quick, but not unsafe about the drive to the hospital. Phenomenally safe. Just a great experience. Get to the hospital, and she helps us unload everything, says, is there anything else I can do? Just 5 stars above and beyond.
This was before Uber put in a tipping option. She would have had so many tips, and we were so distracted that nobody thought to
I don't think anyone was really thinking about
had I not been in labor.
Yeah, we were all kind of a little bit overwhelmed.
Well, I mean, at least you remember that.
Mm-hmm. Man. Yeah, she was great, though.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Yep, still horrified about natural birth, so...
It's a lot.
I'm glad that Kylie just decided to be breached the entire time, and then I just, had to have a C-section with, no contractions, and literally gave birth within 10 minutes.
Wow.
It was just, get in, get out. Oh, God, still...
See, for me, from the other side, it's like, at least I keep telling myself, at least I didn't have to deal with major surgery. The idea, I told the doctor, because surgery really freaks me out. Mm-hmm. And I told the doctor we were doing, at one of the kind of later, one of our later appointments, like, just so you know, if something happens and I'm going to have to go in for a C-section because something's come up, expect me to have a panic attack when you tell me, because I have such a thing about the concept of surgery, the concept of being, cut open that way, that I told her just like flat out, if it comes to that and you have to tell me, just know I will have a panic attack. So be prepared for that amount of time when we're going to have to deal with my having a panic attack.
You guys will be so shocked. Anyways, yeah.
It was not something I was mentally prepared to deal with almost everything else.
We all have different preferences, but I'm glad that, I'm glad that everything worked out.
And it could always be worse. I have a good friend
who
did
both. Are you guys
both.
thinking about having a second?
Yeah.
Yes. We would like probably to have one more.
Yeah. Okay, all right. You guys better get on that. So the two kids can be close in age.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Not too close, but not too far, right?
That's right.
Oh, these two.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you mean. Yeah. We're a little behind the mark on that one to be as close as the other two are, but
but they could all use
within a year. It's okay.
Yeah, that's true.
No pressure. Well, on that note, hope that you guys have another kid soon. All our kitties can all play together. And thanks for all that very detailed and graphic information. It was lovely. I'm sure all of our viewers really enjoyed that story, and now are also terrified of childbirth. Just kidding. Guys, it's a beautiful thing. Okay. All right. Yeah, we're gonna wrap up. So thank you guys for being here, and thank you for giving us so many interesting details that we will be chewing on for several weeks now, and then have you guys come back and tell us more. So, all right. So, yeah. Make sure you guys follow us at Kung Fu Mama Show, IGFB, and comment, tell us everything and all your beautiful stories. We'd all love to hear them. So, thank you. Thank you, Lauren and Skye. Bye.